All right, Shabbosai, good morning. Good morning. Let us begin. We are picking up in Meretz Hashem this morning in Os Dalid, section 4 in Tzidkas HaTzaddik, a really beautiful and meaningful piece that actually builds on a number of the pieces that we've seen before. So the Rebbe writes as follows. So again, remember, we are on its page Ches. We're picking up, we're going to read it inside of the Be'uriah Chasidus, so that middle section there, and again, by the letter Dalid, right, bottom of the right-hand paragraph. Al pi hamavur le'el, she'ikar inyan habrachos hu liyachid kol ma'asav l'Hashem yisbarach. So remember again, in Gimel, the Rebbe was explaining based on the pasuk Reishis Chachma Yiras Hashem, the beginning of all wisdom. So we translate that as fear of God. But the truth is, the Rebbe said really what it means is God awareness. That the entire essence of life, the entire first component of Yiddishkeit is to create a sense of God awareness. And the Rebbe said this is the role, this is the power of a bracha. Brachas create this sense of God awareness. So continuing a little bit on that same theme. So the Rebbe is as follows. He says, "Mitzbar gam tama inyan shemitzvah harishona shenischayev adam lekaima kishenasa adam bar mitzvah biyosa ben 13 shana hu mitzvahs kriyas shema shel arvis." So here the Rebbe makes a very beautiful observation. He says, if you think about this, when a young man becomes a bar mitzvah, right? What is the first mitzvah he has? Right? The first mitzvah he has when he becomes a bar mitzvah is Kriyas Shema Shel Arvis, nighttime Shema. Right? Remember, we spoke about this. This was in the previous sif as well. We say Shema b'shachvicha u'v'kumecha, when you go to sleep and when you wake up. So remember again, the Rebbe explained that refers to two different parts of life. Right? It's not just simply night and day, but rather again b'shachvicha, when I go to sleep. I'm supposed to have a God awareness. B'kumecha, even when I go into the world, I'm supposed to have a God awareness. So remember again, the Jewish day starts at night. So therefore, when does a boy become bar mitzvah? He becomes bar mitzvah nightfall. So let's say again, if my birthday is Aleph Tishrei, it's a good birthday to have. If my birthday is Aleph Tishrei, so I become a bar mitzvah the night of Aleph Tishrei. So let's say Tishrei falls out. Aleph Tishrei is a Thursday, for argument's sake, it's a Thursday. So then again, when do I become a bar mitzvah? Wednesday night. At Seis HaKochav, the nightfall of Wednesday night, I become a bar mitzvah. What's fascinating to see, so therefore, what is my first mitzvah obligation? Nighttime Shema. And it's true for everyone across the board. The first mitzvah that a bar mitzvah has, the first obligation that a bar mitzvah has, is Kriyas Shema Shel Arvis, nighttime Shema. He says, what's interesting, no? Just interesting, that's my first mitzvah. What's the pshat? V'taimu shel davar hu mipnei shecholva sa'adam liyached is kol masav la'Hashem yisbarach hu harishis v'adarga harishon ba'avodas Hashem kimoshin is ba'er la'el le'inyan brachas shekodem kol. So remember again, this on a most basic level, before we get to why nighttime Shema, it makes sense that the first mitzvah that a bar mitzvah boy has is Shema. That makes sense. Why? Because the essence of Shema is Kabbalas Olmachu Shemayim. The essence of Shema is the acceptance of a relationship with Hashem, creation of God awareness. So that makes sense. The first thing, it's fascinating, right? The first thing that a bar mitzvah boy has to do is not put on his tefillin, right? Is not go ahead and keep Shabbos. That's not the first thing. The first thing I have to do as a bar mitzvah is to put in the effort to create a relationship with Hashem. That's my first obligation. What's the vehicle for that? Shema. Shema is the vehicle, one of the vehicles, maybe even primary vehicle, for creation of relationship with Hashem, creation of God awareness. He goes on, he says, Shekodim kol, tzarach adam lios bedarga da es Elokei avicha. Left-hand paragraph. The first step is a person has to get to know the God of their father, v'rach achar kach avdehu, and then only afterwards can I serve him. So again, this is all from Os Gimel. The first step in the creation of relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu ultimately is God awareness. God awareness yields God appreciation. God appreciation then informs the way that I serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ki hu kriyas shema ubrachos inyanim echad. Dahainu liyachid es kol ha'masim hanasim al yodo rak l'Hashem yisbarach. Because in this respect, says Reb Tzaddik, Shema and brachos really are the same thing. Meaning, again, remember again, what did HaTzaddik say? Baruch ato Hashem Elokeinu. What does a bracha do? Bracha creates God awareness. What does Kriyas Shema do? Creates God awareness. Kriyas Shema perhaps does it in a little bit more of like an acute form, because literally I'm accepting Hashem upon myself, but it's the same yisod. Good. So then he goes on, he says, Rak shabrachos niskenu k'dei liyachil Hashem Yisbarach befrat kol echad ve'echad me'amasim shavuro niskana bracha mesuyam Tanu sha'adam model Hashem Yisbarach b'miyuchad al hanos ha'maisa she'omer lihanos mimenu. So I'll say, he's just getting technical here for just a moment. So if brachos and Shema have the same avoda, right? They have the same they have the same same purpose to create God awareness. So how are they different? So it's simple. A bracha creates God awareness in a limited context. For example, I have a cup of coffee, right? I say, Baruch ato Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh bidvaro. Blessed are you, Hashem, source of blessing, right? The King of the universe. Shehakol niyeh, everything was created through His word. So what does that do? That creates God awareness in coffee. Truth is, when you need a cup of coffee, it's all God awareness, right? There's nothing more spiritual and holy than a cup of coffee in the morning. Right? So again, what that does is that creates God awareness in this coffee. That's what brachos do. They create God awareness in a specific, limited context. Whatever it is that I'm doing, I bring God into that event. Shema, on the other hand, is much more global. He says, "V'zu kriyas Shema tachlisa hi liyachid es kol ma'asav bichlal b'shachris ha'maaseh hakimo es kedei es ma she'omer lasos b'yom hu be'ez shunir." So remember again, kriyas Shema on the other hand also creates God awareness, but it creates a much more what we'll call globalized or much more general God awareness. So for example, when I say Shema, when I wake up in the morning, or bikumecha, so what that does is that brings HaKadosh Baruch Hu into my day. So suddenly again, all aspects of the goal is to create a sense of God awareness and God connection in all aspects of my day. Uba'arvis al kol ma'aseh shchiva sheyeda gam b'shas Hashem lefnei mihu shochev v'yedabek es machshavosa b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then when I go to sleep, right, b'shach b'cha, the goal is to create God awareness. Even right, not only do I stand before God as we spoke about, but what? I sleep before God as well. I sleep before God as well. So I'll say, so now what's nice about this is, first of all, just like a little bit of a review, right? That brachos and Shema really have the same essence, which is create God awareness. Why is God awareness important? God awareness creates relationship. And relationship then yields more energized, more meaningful, and more impactful avoda, physical service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So okay, Shema and brachos do the same thing. Brachos do it in a very specific, almost like episodic or actional way. I'm doing something now, making a bracha. The bracha brings HaKadosh Baruch Hu into that specific event, that specific action, that specific moment. Kriyas Shema brings HaKadosh Baruch Hu into general states of being. B'shach b'cha uvekumecha. I sleep before God, and in my waking hours, I do everything else before HaKadosh Baruch Hu as well. Now HaTzaddik says, so therefore, it makes perfect sense that what is the first mitzvah that a bar mitzvah bachar has? What is the first mitzvah? Kriyas Shema. Kriyas Shema, right? That the first thing, it's fascinating, right? The first thing you do as a bar mitzvah bachar is not per se a physical mitzvah, because what we're trying to teach our children is don't fall into the trap of behavioral Yiddishkeit. Don't fall into the trap of a mechanistic relationship with God. It's important, the behaviors, of course, everything, the mechanics are important, but what's so much more important, or what makes the mechanics and the details important, is relationship. Create your God awareness. Bar mitzvah bachar. Now you're a man. Everybody got that. Now you're a man speech, right? Now you're a man. So now, as an adult, as a responsible Jew, you have an obligation to create an awareness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your life. And if you have that, you'll have relationship. When you have relationship, you're going to want to do the things to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Which I will say, just as an aside, I'm not going to take a show of hands about how many of us were educated about God awareness or relationship with Hashem when we became bar mitzvah. Right? And because I know the answer for all of us is none of us were given this, which is such a gaping hole in general in chinuch, right? We're all about the details and sometimes nothing about the relationship. And that's tragic. That's tragic, and it's so important as parents, again, especially as parents, if you have young children, it is so important to instill this piece, to teach our children what Shema means, and how to be a Kriya Shema Jew, and how to be a Bracha Jew. Because if we can do that, so many of the struggles that often go into parenting in terms of getting kids to want to do the details, to love the details. See, you can't love something if you don't know what it means. You can't love something if you don't know why you're doing it. You can't love something if at the end of the day you don't understand the purpose that it has in your greater being. But that's why if we start with the relationship, right? If we start ultimately with the God awareness, then in Meretz Hashem, we bring our children into the process, and hopefully they're going to want to do the details. So we'll say, we're going to have to stop over here. So now we have the framework. Now, of course, the question we're going to tackle tomorrow morning is, why Ma'ariv? Why Ma'ariv? So I understand why the first mitzvah that a bar mitzvah bachar has is going to be Shema, but the shaila is, why Kriya Shema Shel Arvis? To be continued tomorrow. Mitzvah will say, Shkoyach. Yeah, it's from my shir last night.